that might be it. Wow. Okay. All right, we are live now.
So good to go. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good day, everyone. Good afternoon from this side, from this end, rather, Nigeria. A big welcome to another session that promises to be enlightening. The JCricket, a concrete case of entity management for Share-VDE and beyond at the 2023 LD4 conference on linked data. My name is Woyeka Charles Chiemere, and I'm delighted to be your facilitator for this session. As we all can see on my slides, on the screen that I shared, rather, we have the necessary sites that we'll be needing to navigate through this for this conference. We have the conference website, which is where you need to know everything about this conference, the LD4 conference for linked data. And then we have the code of conduct site to know what to do and what not to do. For the Twitter hashtag, for those of us that want to go ahead and post on our social media, especially Twitter, we can use the hashtag LD4_2023 to post. And also for the Slack invite, for our conversations and questions, we'll be making use of our Slack invite. So you can go on to Slack and make your questions known and it will be attended to. And we also have the tech support. If you need help with navigating throughout the conference, you can contact the the tech support channel in Slack. And then please remember that this meeting, this presentation is streamed live on YouTube. So that's all we need to know. And well, for today, we have a one-man, or should I say one-woman lineup of speakers who will be sharing their insights and expertise in JCricket, a concrete case of entity management for Share-VDE and beyond. Our session today focuses on this topic.
Charles, I think, has frozen. I'm not sure why, but Tiziana, maybe you can go ahead with your presentation.
Yes, sure. Okay. I try to share my screen. Okay, do you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you. Good morning, and thank you for giving me, in behalf of the whole Share family community, the opportunity to share this demo with you. This is the second occasion we have to demonstrate JCricket live. We had already presented it at the Share Family Workshop held in Chicago on June 26. A brief overview of JCricket so that the live demo could be more understandable. So what JCricket is? JCricket is an entity editor. It applies to linked data entities that are created within all tenants in the Share family. So different tenants. I will explain after what the tenant is. It's a manual application that manages properties, attributes, relationships, and links of entities in the cluster knowledge base. And that it's a collaborative tool that is shared across member institutions, so make possible to work together on the cluster knowledge base. And it can be a new tool for entity cataloging, sharing in linked open data. But what JCricket is not, JCricket is not a traditional bibliographic data editor, so it's not a traditional cataloging tool. So not an original cataloging tool in Mark 21, for example, even if new entities can be created within JCricket. Is not in contrast with the Sinopia or Marva, but better, it works with the Sinopia or Marva in case you are interested to be cooperative with these different tools. And it not impacting original data that reside in member libraries system, unless libraries want to use ad hoc APIs for entity updates, both in Share-VDE and in their system. JCricket is integrated in the Discovery Portal web interface, and of course is for authenticated users. An authenticated user can be authenticated as basic or advanced, and it permissions change in base of these different levels of authentication. Entities that are managed through JCricket are aggregated data from different contributed libraries, so from different provenance. Briefly, how this works. So Share-VDE fetches MARC records from member libraries for ingestion in Share-VDE and BibFrame conversion. Linked data entities are created from this process and stored in the cluster knowledge base that is here represented with this box. Entities are in fact clusters, so entities created through the aggregation of data from multiple institutions. And using JCricket, the Share-VDE member libraries are able to authenticate it in a dedicated area of the Share-VDE portal and manually edit potential error found in entities that are created automatically through conversion process. As you can imagine, working with so large amount of data, the entity resolution processes can be, in some cases, not 100% correct. And so this tool makes possible to arrange, to modify, to correct, to take care of data. Also, JCricket APIs will allow communication with Share-VDE libraries to notify the changes made on the entity in the cluster knowledge base. This can be done in case the libraries want to use these services to be informed about the changes in the clusters to which the library data contributed, or even to optionally activate the entity update APIs. Share-VDE manages so the cluster knowledge base, which consists of clustered, integrated, and enriched entities that we call clusters of Prism. And in Share-VDE, a tenant is represented by a set of institutions contributing to the same cluster knowledge base. So when we speak about different tenants, we can imagine that in the Share family, different cluster knowledge base can be produced. An institution within a tenant is called Provenance. And we use that term because we always want to retain the relationship between Share-VDE entities and the data that originally contributed to their creation. This is very important because this makes possible also updating and any delta processes. The The edit cluster operation is one of different opportunities and features available for JCricket editor, and it makes possible to add or remove and amend attributes, relationships, and links belonging to a single entity. If the user is a basic editor, she can update only the properties coming from the user provenance, while if the user is an advanced editor, the whole Prism, that means all properties, can be editable, and therefore a Share-VDE cluster can be seen in this sense as a prism, where each phase represents data coming from a given provenance. So this means that each record coming from a provenance contribute in building and enrich one or more Share-VDE cluster. Each phase represents data coming from a given provenance, and each Share-VDE cluster maintains a link to the record it originated from. So, what different main feature JCricket make possible? An authorized person can edit the property of the Prism, so add, update, or delete, and the properties can be of different kind of nature. The authorized person can merge multiple prism. For example, the editor detects multiple prism that belong to the same entity when a classification process went wrong, or the user can split a prism in multiple prisms. So this means that in case different entities were put together in one, the person can split this. So I will give you a very brief demo to show you something. So the person can start from a traditional search. Here you are on the Share-VDE portal, that is an entity portal, and the user can start with a search, for example. Yes. And as you can see here, this is the end user presentation. So you have all results coming from this search. You have people and organization, and you have here original works. But you can also do an advanced search as usual. For example, you can search for an agent. Name contains, I don't know, Mary. Search. This is a test environment, so I don't know which kind of information we can find. And so we have the result. See here, between the options, you can copy the URI, or you can download the entity and some other actions. But I can discover something that is wrong in this entity, for example, or I want to add something. So now I can log in. And I log in with a user that is related, in this case, in this test, to UPenn University. And now, as you can see, the user interface changed a bit, and you have now different actions that you can do. For example, you can edit this entity. So now I'm on JCricket user interface, and I have here a sort of story, a sort of dashboard that will be time by time implemented. And I have here the last queries that I have done. So I have explored Mary Grand Prix. I have done a simple search, and I have done an advanced search, and I am now on the editor. So I have in the left section the attributes that are already present for this entity. So I'm working on this entity that is an agent. I can add other kind of property. And as you can see, I can manage 3 different kind of property. I can include a text, so something that in terms of linked open data is defined as a resource, so a trip as a resource, a RDF resource. And in this case, I have the ability to search and to copy the URI or to search something, and I will show you after. Or I have a kind of text, so something that is textual, for example, a date or something that doesn't refer to a controlled vocabulary or to an already existent entity. And I can also include some external identifier. In this sense, in this means, in this case, I can copy or search for external sources, and I can create some relationship, so hyperlinks with resources that are not specifically on my tenant, on my database, but for example, in MIAF or in some external. So as I can create a URL, for example, I don't know, I search for something here. I don't know, I prepare something. This is just a text. Okay, I can search and I can qualify something. For example, I can say this is a full text, or this is a cover. This is just an example, of course. This is a cover, this is an image, this is a content, and so on. And I can define the access if this needs to be free or controlled, for example. I can work on this and, for example, I can change my attributes. I can include I can correct, for example, this here, and I can check soon my entity so that I can, in case, have updated. Sorry, I have some. Okay. But I can do something more. For example, I can define, see here in the birth year, I can manage the provenance data. So each kind of information, piece of information, as I said before, as I mentioned before, is related to a specific provenance. So I'm logged now with UPenn, and so I disagree with the chosen, the choice done by British Library, for example. In this case, is just an example, and I think that she was born in 1953 and not in 1954. So both information can remain on the database and will remain in the database, but I'm authorized to change for UPenn because I'm linked to UPenn as a user, and I can change, and I also can define a different leader value. So how to present.
Even today, I'm gonna then you will now come and.
Sorry, are you speaking with me?
No, not really. Go on, Ma. Go on.
Okay, thank you. So in this feature, for each field, you can open, clicking on this button, you can open and have a clear vision of different contribution coming from different libraries. In some cases, you can see that some fields appear or are perfectly the same, so they have a full matching. But this is important because in the database, this value is reported just one, because it's exactly the same for British Library and for Library of Congress. But in this screen, the system shows me different with two different rows, because I need to check which provenance decided to use this value and which provenance probably disagreed and chose for another form. Not specifically, is not specifically an error, but for example, in a different language. I can show you after. So also in case of a perfectly matching field, you have in any time the information about the provenance, and you can choose, you can change your data, or in case you are you have an authorization to do this, you can also decide to work for other libraries, changing, for example, the provenance or changing the value for another provenance. But of course, this means that you have an agreement with another library to work on both data. And in this case, you can provide information for different data. We have another kind of authorization that is another kind of provenance. I try to show you a bit later. That is the system provenance. And in this case, the system provenance means that no any person linked to a specific institutions has done something, but the value was added to an entity from someone who is not part of an institution. For example, myself, I'm not part of an institution, but I could be admitted to work on your tenant to help you in data curation. Or this is a value that is provided in clusterization process, in enrichment process. So no any specific institution is responsible for this data, but this is fetched by an external source, so a system as provenance is defined. What can I do here? I can select for a new property, and if you check here, each kind of, in this section, is shown only properties that are specifically related to this kind of entity. So you will find all possible metadata and attributes that BibFrame considers valid for this entity. And you can have a list here that is also searchable, and you can have different, also in this case, a different kind of new attributes, new properties that you can add to this screen. But in the meantime, you can also, for example, provide to have different screens open in the meantime to do something. For example, I can, I'm sorry, because I have something in my screen that is not easy to, okay. For example, I have here an opus, a work. I search for this one. Oh my God. Okay. Okay, sorry, I have different windows open. I can search and I can find, for example, this is a publication. And this person, in this case, is also the illustrator for this publication. So I can compare, but I can also open something more, for example, in a third screen, or I can close one and open a new screen. It depends by the kind of activity I'm doing. And I can create, for example, a new one. So I'm also authorized to create something. So I try to give you some possible use cases where this is possible. For example, I'm linking a work with an instance, or an instance with a copy, or I'm linking an instance with another instance, or a work with another work, because it's a different translation, or an agent with a work, or I'm creating a different agent or different work, in any case, a different entity. And I want to be sure that I'm not creating exactly the same. So this is a different person for the same name, for example. Or in case I will merge or split something, in case I want to split this entity in two, I can open one and I can move specifically each attributes to the new. So a different occasion to have 2 or 3 main screens. But let you show how can I continue to work. It's very interesting, the usage that we can do about a language. For example, I can decide to include some description in a different language. I prefer to probably to change my example. I go to here, to this one, and I search for something, and I click on edit. And I want to add, for example, a title in another language or in another alphabet. So I can, here I can check the situation, and I can here add something, for example, in Italian. So I can add the Italian label. Okay, so now I have the Italian version. I hope this I want to show you something. I'm not sure I'm able, because this is a test environment, but in case I click here, see, okay, I changed here my browse language, and now I have the Italian version directly available for end users. So a way to work directly on a large amount of data using, for example, different languages or different characters, alphabets. This is very interesting because, of course, I can enrich my information, my entity, and I can provide this in different languages. Of course, what happens when I click when I want to add something that is a relationship, so that is related to another entity, I can check, for example, for gen form. I can add something, I don't know, is a novel, for example. Okay, in this case, a Windows, a drop-down menu is open so that I can select, and in this case, the link is done directly between this entity that is a publication, yes, no, that is an opus, and in this case, the genre. The genre is an attribute of the opus. Or I can do the same, for example, for contributor. For example, I want to add a contributor, but I can also not be sure, 100% sure about the name. So I can search something, for example, search for, I don't know, I search directly on this screen, and I can select. And in this case, a new option appears, so add to editor as contributor in original work. And this is directly linked, and I can also change this and assign, for example, as a, I don't know, a sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, as an editor, for example, I'm not able now to change. Okay, for example, as a screen waiter. Okay, and the same is with other kind of relationship. I can use this link, and even in this case, you have all possible attributes now related to a different entity, so not more to an agent, but to a work. So what in Share-VDE is called an opus, so the general idea, the general opus that correspond more or less to the work in LRM. And here I have the list, and between and here in the text is also indicated the kind of field that I can include, so as a test, or for example as another entity. And so in this case I can do exactly the same. The last thing that I want to show you is the log. This is the this was added just yesterday as a new step, because JCricket is under development and it will be concluded, we hope, within the end of this year. And in the log windows, you can have a clear log of all kind of actions that were done to this entity. And so this is very interesting because you can maintain this log, you can use as a troubleshooting. So it's important to have also this kind of information. I think that is all for the moment. Of course, you can change your user interface, but this is less important. So I prefer to give you a few minutes for possible questions in case you have questions. And I also saved some slides, and in case you are also interested to have an overview about the, just 1 second, an overview about the technology. Probably these slides are not in what I saved, but you can, I can send you after to organizers also, so that you can have a clear idea about also the technologies that are used, the languages, the architecture that is used for this development. So thank you to all, and thanks to all our technical functional staff who is working on this project, and all the librarians of the shared community who are participating actively to this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiziana, for the wonderful presentation. And thank you all for joining us on this session. I hope you find it informative and insightful. Don't forget to drop your questions in the Slack channels, and we'll be there to provide answers to all your queries. The next session also promises to be a much more interesting session. See you at the next session. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Tiziana.
See you.